Okay, good morning, Gators. Hope you're well. I'm going to be going over the week 2, day 4 homework. Okay, let's start over here. Which of the following expressions has a value of 1.25? Well, first, looking at these different options, I want to make sure which ones of these actually will have a positive product, because this is positive 1.25. And I know for it to be a positive, there's different rules. So here we have a positive number times a negative number. That would equal a negative number. So automatically we can cross that out because we're looking for a positive. You might be thinking, there's a negative here, but that negative is just like a -1. So it's like -1 times positive. So a negative times a positive would become negative, and then times a positive is still negative. So that's also negative. What about here? That's a negative times a negative. Yes, that's a positive, but let's double check that that would equal 1.25. And this is also like -1. -1 times -2.5, that would become positive. And then positive times this negative equals negative again. So this one does not work. So automatically we can just pick C because that's only positive one. But let's also double check. 2.5 times 0.5. 1.25 because you move the decimal point 2 times. There we go. Okay, enter the value of -8 times 45 times 1/8. Okay, let us first do -8 times 45. 32 plus 4, 36. So this is -360. Make sure you didn't forget that. And then times 1/8. Just put that over 1. That would become a -360 divided by 8. 368, and that is 445. Becomes a -45. And a way that we could have done that, like without doing all this work, is that -8 times 1/8 is just going to be 1. Like if you have 5 times 1/5, that's just 1, because you have 5 and you're going to be dividing it by 5. So like 3 times 1/3 is 1. So in any case, -8 times 1/8 would have just been -1, and then you just do that times 45. Okay. In the given equation, A, B, and C are non-zero rational numbers. A times B equals C. Given this equation, enter one number from the choices below into each box to complete 4 true equations. And you have all these different options. Okay, so it's basically saying you know that A times B equals C, and you have to follow that rule to make the rest of them true. Okay, what happens if C is still the same number, but you make A into a negative number? What has to happen to B? So if we're not, when we're not understanding problems with variables, we can just put in values that make sense to us. So why don't we just do 2 times 3 equals 6? And then -A means -2 times something equals 6. -2 times what equals 6? Well, that should be easier for us to understand. That'd be -3, because a negative times a negative will give you a positive. So which of the options will give us a -3 here? Well, I took B, and then that became negative, because B was 3, and then I made it -3. So that would be -B. -B. And then over here, let's see. What times what has to equal something times something equals -6. There's actually a couple different options you can use for this one. You could do -A times B, so that's like -2 times 3, or you could do A times -B, because that's 2 times -3. So there's two options, right here and right here. Just only one of them can be negative. And then over here, well, now we're switching into division. So let's put back our 2, 3, and our 6. This is 2, and this is -3. Something divided by -3 equals 2. Well, first of all, let's think, is it going to be positive or is it going to be negative? Something divided by a negative was a positive, and only a negative divided by a negative can become a positive. And then it has to be c because it's 6, so it's negative c. And then here, something divided by something equals negative a. Well, we know that one of these, this one or this one, has to be negative. And remember, a is 2, if I've been doing that correctly. Yeah, a is 2. So this becomes negative 2. Something divided by something equals negative 2. You could do 6 divided by negative 3 or negative 6 divided by 3. So your two options for this one would be negative c over b, or no, c over negative b. Either way, the c has to go on the top, because if you switch these around, it's going to be like 1/2 instead of 2. So these are your two options for the top box and the bottom boxes. Okay, good luck with the work for today.